Hey everybody, it's Shelly Hoffman, and I am here with Chief Lefancheck for our July update of what's been going on in the village. So thanks again for taking the time to talk with me, Chief. How you been?
Doing well here. How about yourself, Shelley?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a nice hot July 4th weekend. I missed the fireworks, but you know what? There's worse things in life than not having fireworks on the 4th of July. So it was pretty
Yeah,
nice.
I actually had one of the officers send me a text at about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I thought, I was like, oh, something bad's going on. And it was actually just a picture of the Four Corners, which was basically totally vacant. There was no one there. And he said, it's been a while since we've seen this on July 4th. And it really has. But for perspective, when I first started in Baldwinsville, which will be 33 years in September, because I was 6 when I started, of course, um, and um, there was nothing going on in Baldwinsville for July 4th because there was no Paper Mill Island. There was nothing that drew people in, and Baldwinsville really was a ghost town then. So it kind of was reminiscent when I got that picture. I was like, wow, that's kind of when I started. I remember working on the 4th because my birthday is July 3rd. So for the last several years, I've had to always work on my birthday because we've had events going on. But this year I didn't have to. But it was a little bittersweet in that regard because I always do enjoy seeing the crowds and everyone coming in for the fireworks because it's always a great display.
No, you're right. And it's funny because obviously I haven't been in Baldwinsville long enough to remember when it was kind of more like a farm area. But I've heard the stories of it. Like I talked to the Clarks and they tell me, things like that. And I can't envision it because since the time I've been here, I have watched the growth over the last 10 years. But
Hmm.
it's always been a cute little, happening village to me. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
happy
So,
belated birthday.
oh, thank you. Yes, and we did have fireworks calls, but we had a few of those, but those were people that just kind of took matters into their own hands and had some stuff going off, and fortunately, no injuries or anything reported, which is good.
So I do have a question before we get into your update because
Sure.
I asked the mayor last week about what's legal, what's not legal. Because when I first moved here, sparklers were illegal, and now you can do sparklers. So
Yeah.
what can you do on the 4th of July? Is there like a guideline or something?
Yeah, I mean, the county executive kind of said it best when he said, anything that goes up in the air, you're not supposed to have. So anything that kind of shoots off into the air, that's regulated, and you have to have an actual fireworks permit. That's why when the fireworks go off in town here, there's an actual permitting process that they have to go through to be approved. I'm actually the person designated by the village to review those, so I have to look at their plan. They have to have fire department notified. If it's over water, they have to notify the Coast Guard. It's quite an involved application process to make sure the insurance is in place and that everyone has the proper pyrotechnicians that are certified. So it's not an easy process to go through to become certified to do that.
I know the Rotary for Seneca River Days, which obviously was canceled this year as well. But I know they've talked about the fireworks. It's always a category just to make sure we check all the boxes, things like that,
Yeah.
for the fireworks. So and having a sponsor too, because fireworks are not cheap to put off a fireworks display is not an inexpensive thing to do
Oh
either by
no.
any.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why the one here is very nice, and I know that sponsors have assisted in that, and it costs several $1,000s to do that. So that's why there's that lengthy process just to ensure there's so many people coming in. There's thousands of people to make sure that everyone's going to be safe. So there's two main companies that do it in New York State, and I've reviewed applications from both, and they're both very reputable.
Oh, nice. So what else has been going on besides the Four Corners being a little bit more vacant than usual on the 4th of July?
Well, that was just one particular day. So otherwise, you won't see that, and that kind of leads me into the first thing I wanted to talk about is over the last month, we've actually conducted about 135 vehicle and traffic stops. We haven't written that many tickets. Obviously, we don't write everyone that we pull over a ticket. Now, we did write the person a ticket who was going 80 miles an hour on Tappan Street. They got a
Wow.
ticket. I can assure you of that. And I'll remind everyone out there that the speed limit in the village is 30. So that is well over the limit. But we've been getting some more complaints about vehicle speeding and people driving a little bit too aggressively. Our traffic accidents have ticked up. We've had about 14 accidents over that time period, almost one every other day. So those crashes, as we refer to them, because they're really not accidents, they're crashes. In most cases, they are preventable. So we're trying to take on a little bit more of an educational mindset and be a little as active as we can in that regard, because we don't want to see people get injured because more people are on the roadways now. Obviously, in the early stages of the COVID-19, many people staying home, but we've noticed much greater traffic coming through the village, and with more cars on the road might lead into more accidents, and anecdotally that is correct for us. So that's really the first thing I wanted to mention.
I have a street light at my corner, as you're aware. And the
Mhm.
one thing I noticed is the delayed yellow light. How many people just, is it yellow? Is it red when they're going through? I think I could sit on my front porch and make a game out of it. How many people actually come to a stop at the end of a yellow light turning on to red? But it's been a great lesson because I have an 18-year-old and I have a 15-year-old, and we talk about driving. And if you turn on a late yellow and somebody goes fast on a green, well, that's just asking to be hit, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know if those are a lot of accidents or crashes, but I definitely see that on my corner.
Well, traditionally for us, our most common contributing factor is always following too closely and backing unsafely. Those are the two, and the following too closely. Uh, Quite frankly, we believe that on many indications, it's probably somebody that might be on a cell phone that just doesn't admit to us that they're on a cell phone, and we can't prove they're on a cell phone, but they end up rear-ending somebody because the car in front of them stops. So maybe it's some where they're following too closely, but other maybe it's driver inattention as well. So those three are really the big three contributing factors for us. And then just for a little bit of perspective, when I started here, that traffic light wasn't there. It was just stop signs, and there were accidents at that intersection all the time. You could set your watch on a Thursday or Friday. I used to work 3 to 11, and by 3:15, inevitably, I would have an accident at that location on both those days. That's why the light's there now. So, just to give you a little perspective
Well, I
again.
should be happy. I'm definitely happy there's a light there then.
Oh yeah,
So,
and I am as well. I am as well. Traffic accidents went down tremendously during that time period. So, um,
are
you
you
know,
allowed
another
to
thing.
ask for the cell
Go ahead.
phone? Are you allowed to ask for the cell phone if there's an accident and you feel they were on their phone? Are you allowed to look at the phone to see if they were recently on it, or is that not
No,
something
that's
just
not
you
something.
have to
That's not
trust?
something. That's not something that we can't confiscate someone's phone and look at it. We'll ask them, "Were you on your phone?" And sometimes people say, "Yeah, I was," and other times people say, "No, I wasn't on my phone." Okay, they're still listed by us as being at fault in the accident for the contributing factor based on our investigation, if that's what it shows, that they were following too closely. Because in any event, whether they were on their phone or whatever, they're still too close if they're hitting the back end of someone. So that's uh, how we'll write it up. But no, we can't confiscate someone's phone and look into it.
No, well, and I went like this because sometimes I'm like, I just wonder what would be on my phone, even if I wasn't on it, and you looked at it, think, oh my goodness, what was the last text message I got from one of my friends or something?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
We're not looking at it.
But at the end of the day, it's a lesson anyway, because if you were on your phone and that happened, whether you admitted to or you didn't admit to it, you're now aware that you are going to have something bad happen if you have your cell phone in your hand. So,
Yeah,
what else?
and most of the new phones have some great features. I've got a friend. If I text her, immediately get a text back saying I'm driving now. And I'll text you back when I'm done driving. So that lets the person know that, all right, they're not looking at their phone. They're focused on their
Mhm.
driving, and I'm sure I'll get a text back whenever they're not driving. So there's things out there for people to utilize so they're not distracted with their phone, because that is a real issue out there. it definitely. Yeah.
Yep. So what else has been going on in our village?
Well, one of the things we've seen is we've had several people come in and recently where their social security numbers have been compromised and actually used for people to apply for unemployment benefits.
Oh, wow.
And so that's been we've had a number of people contact us. I know there's been a number of data breaches from different firms and organizations out there, and we've had some people that have been compromised. So we'll take a report on that. There's not much investigatory work that can be done because these are very sophisticated rings that are out there. Many times not even located in the continental United States, where these numbers have been harvested, data mined, and utilized. So that's been going on. And then we're averaging about a domestic dispute one every other day for us. So
Um,
that's something as well that we continue to deal with and continue to respond to and take appropriate action for those people. And I know I've talked about this many times in the past, and I think it's important for me to talk maybe now a little bit about policy and procedure because, uh, the governor has come out with this mandate that all police departments have to, and all municipalities that have police departments have to reinvent the way that they do business and put together policy and procedure and ensure that their officers are undergoing training and a whole host of different areas. First, I'm going to talk about domestic disputes, and then I'm going to talk about our department as a whole and some of the things we do. Because I talked about it at the village board meeting. Uh, they asked me a couple of weeks ago to do a summary, and I did that. But I'd like anyone else today to hear that as well. But we have and have had for many, many, many years uh, a very stringent domestic dispute policy where it is our goal not to reconcile the parties because that doesn't work. We take enforcement action if enforcement action is required. Because anecdotally, if we can identify the aggressor in that household, and if there's a crime or an incident that's been committed, we take it out of the victim's hands. If we've got a victim that's got a broken nose or something, and even if she says, I don't want the aggressor arrested, whether it's my husband, my boyfriend, or vice versa, whomever it might be in this relationship. Um, if there's probable cause and we can make an arrest, we do so, and that way we also ask for an order of protection to be issued when during the arraignment, so that way at least there's something a little bit more there uh, that has occurred for this individual. Sometimes there's no crime. Nobody wants anything done. We do our best. We provide, obviously, referral services to Vera House and other shelters if necessary. We're very, very fortunate in the Syracuse area to have Vera House as a reference. But that's our policy. It's been that way for probably 25 years. Obviously, we've modified it over the years. So I think it's a good policy and it works very well for us. Uh, and going back to the governor's comments, I know Shelley and you and I talked the last time we were on a month ago about things that occurred in Minneapolis and uh, and things, and you know, we reviewed. One of the board members had gotten a hold of me and said, "Hey, there's been some question. Does your officers engage in uh, uh, de-escalation training? Have they had bias training? Have they had some of these things?" And so we went back and looked because I knew the answer was yes. And over the last 18 months, our officers had been through training dealing with individuals with mental illness and mental health issues, and had been to training dealing with de-escalation, and had been to training dealing with racial bias. And we've done all those types of things already. And we try to involve the community as much as we can with our policies and our procedures. And if you call and you say, "Hey, I want to talk to the chief," you're going to get me on the phone. Now, it might not be right that second when you call. It might be tied up on something. But at some point over the next 24 hours, unless I'm on vacation or something, you're going to get a call back from me. And and it might not be something that I'm personally going to handle. I might have one of the officers, a lieutenant, or one of the sergeants deal with whatever issue that might be going on, but you're going to get me on the phone, and at least your voice is going to be heard. So we've operated under that community policing philosophy since 1972, 1973. That's when our department was really reorganized, and we became this community policing initiative. I've told the mayor, I've told the village board, I welcome this process because I think we're doing a good job. Are there things that we can improve upon? Absolutely. And we're going to strive to do that, just like we do every day. So I don't need someone in Albany telling me that we've got to improve, because that's what we do. That's our business. Our business is trying to provide the best service we can to our taxpayers, because quite frankly, we do not have to exist. The people in the village have decided that they want a local police department. So we have to provide those services to the community that they expect, and in a manner that they deserve to be treated in. That's what we do, and that's how we're going to continue to do it, so long as I happen to be the chief of police here in the village. Um, I can't tell you. Um, I've got a list of some things here, and this is not all inclusive. It's just some of the folks that have come in. We have had more citizens send some very nice cards and letters and uh, food items. And I'm just going to throw my glasses on here for a second, just to name a few of these organizations: Greens and Grains, Sweet Dream Candy Shop, Shambhala, Latresse. Um, just I think Sheehan's brought something in. People have just come in with pizzas and different things and bought lunch for us from the deli next door. And Joanne from the deli got a hold of me and said, "This is anonymous person. You're not going to know, but I'm going to bring sandwiches over for all the people working there." The amount of community support that we've received has just really been incredible, and it's heartwarming. And when people have sent me emails or cards, I make sure all the officers are. I put something out through our messaging program to everybody, so they know, hey, this was received. There are people out there that really support what we're doing. People in the village are appreciative of what we do. Keep doing what you're doing. And we know we can't make everyone happy all the time. That's the nature of our job. Sometimes we see people at their worst. It's not their best day oftentimes that we see them, but we strive to treat everyone as respectfully as we can. And I know I said the same thing to you a month ago, but I think it just bears repeating, because we are going to be going through this process in the future, and I welcome it. Our members welcome it, and we've got a great community here, and we look forward to continue serving. So I'm not done, but I didn't know if you wanted to jump in and segue it all in with anything.
You know what? I did a little bit, and I apologize. I tried a new sunscreen on my face, and now my eyes are watering
Oh,
because it got in.
yeah,
You're bringing me to tears, Chief, basically. I do want to mention there was an article, I guess, in the Eagle that Ashley Casey had written, and if you click on something online, it takes you maybe to an old post.
yeah,
And we're going back years, and I had never, until I started talking to you through these interviews, had heard of community policing. And here, this was an article written years ago, and you had talked about community policing, and it just kind of goes to show that you guys have been doing consistently the same type of policing, being involved in the community. So even though we're going through a really tough time, we probably won't see a lot of changes in your department because it's what you guys have been doing most of the time or all the time. And the feedback that I get in the community has just been amazing. A lot of it is they'll say the chief, but you are a representation of your force. And I see the guys out and about and the females out and about, and it's always respectful. It's always a wave. Even if they're having a bad day, you don't see anything like that on a day-to-day basis. Like you said, everybody has bad days. Maybe I do something dumb and I get pulled over and they're having a bad day. But at the same time, I still think there'd be respect coming through because that's what we see in the village. So I commend you guys for what you're doing. And I did ask the mayor, I think, in one of our interviews, what that from the governor saying we need to take a look at the police department, what did that mean for you guys? Because it seems like you're doing most of that anyway, and it's extra work that you would have to do, like paperwork and procedures, which takes you away from doing what you do here in the community for us. So you wish almost they could come in and see who needs to do it as opposed to just assuming every police force needs to do it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that was kind of my take on it.
It does. Again, I'm not being critical of people in the process. Um, uh, as far as we're concerned, my job is to ensure that there's sound policy procedure and our departmental philosophy of community policing, service with understanding, is adhered to, and that's what we're about. Um, you know, I have no problem with people in the community voicing uh, their response to people that live here and have businesses in Baldwinsville. Um, what they envision their police department being. Is there feedback we can gain from people that maybe they might not have in a different form? Fine. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us, and for our community. At the end of the day, if it's going to make our department more responsive to the community and to our residents, great. Do I think it's going to be wholesale changes for our department? Personally, I don't, only because we've been operating under this community policing model for almost 50 years. So it is not something new for us. It is not like, oh, we're going to have a bicycle patrol, we're going to do foot patrol, so now we're doing community policing. No, that's not what community policing is. That's a part of it. That's a particular program you can have to support your community policing initiatives. But the community policing is really a whole philosophy of trying to be a representation of the community. And when you go on a call, solve that problem. It's not possible every single time, but try and do your best to solve that problem so no one ever has to go back there. And to be engaged with the community, to feel that the community can reach out to us in times of issue or crisis. And I think you'll see that with our relationship with the school district, with our relationship with the business community. I've seen you and I'm at many of the Chamber of Commerce luncheons when they were going on pre-COVID, to try and be there, to try and just talk to business owners, which are a vital part of our community. We do our business checks overnight, where we slide the blue cards underneath. We've stopped doing the blue cards just because of the COVID situation again, but we're still doing those business checks overnight. When the canal system's operational, our officers doing foot patrol in the parks a couple 3 times a day. We're talking to the boers, we're talking to the people in the park system. There's a lot of things that we're engaged in and involved in. We've got some officers that enjoy riding the bicycles. They'll get out and ride bicycles sometimes in the neighborhood. So we do an awful lot to try and be as engaging and as involved and visible to the community as we can be.
No, and I think everyone appreciates that. Speaking of being involved in the community, I noticed you had shared a post about Officer Rosie um,
Yes.
the other day. How
Yes,
is she?
that's on my list. That was next on my list, and we've got a couple of officers that have really gotten close with Rosie and her parents, and her mom posted, family posted that some of Rosie's scans have come back and they look very good. And it's always a very scary time for the family when the scans are out there, and anyone that's had family member battle that and understands that, knows. And so we couldn't be happier to get that positive response. It's still our hope to at some point in time get Rosie out on patrol in the village with her patrol car. Go back to our Facebook page, scroll back to when we swore her in. She's got her own patrol car. Obviously the coronavirus has kind of put the brakes on that a little bit. Her health and safety are the most important things, and we'll look forward to when she can get on patrol when it's safe for her to do so. But our plan is through the four corners of the business community. One day she's going to be out there and on patrol, and we'll certainly let everyone know when that's going to happen. But right now our goal is to keep her safe. And then one other thing that's going on is because with the coronavirus, and so the village hall has been locked, and our police department has been locked. You can't get into the lobby. Um, some people might not realize our building's a little bit unique. It's 120 years old. It was built in 1897, and our officers, our locker rooms are upstairs. So in order to get to our locker rooms, our officers have to go through the lobby to get there. So that's why what we're doing is we're triaging anyone that needs to come into the lobby. If you don't need to come in, we're not having you come in, just so we can try and keep that lobby area. It's small. If you haven't been in there before, as sanitized as possible. So we've installed a new video conferencing intercom system at the police department, both at our front and rear door. It's very, very similar. If any of you have been to one of the schools here in Baldwinsville, so it's almost like a doorbell. You push the button, and the doorbell kind of rings up at our front communications area. Some of our officers are enjoying pushing the doorbell. So our communication staff is like, you owe me a quarter, and they're like, we're going to be able to retire. We're going to be owed so much money, but we can actually, you can't see the staff member, but the staff member can actually see you, and then it's two-way communication, could talk back and forth. And if somebody needs to come in, we are still accepting prescription medication in our drop box. We'll have an officer go back and take those items from you, and we'll put them in the drop box ourselves, or sharps containers if they're in a secured container. We'll dispose of those for you as well. So we do have people coming in, handicap permits. Sometimes you can call us for those. We can process some of them over the phone. Sometimes we might need you to come in just to view your most recent license, or if it's a new application. So we're trying to do everything we can as much as possible via that method. If you need to come into the lobby, we'll certainly let you into the lobby and have you sit, and an officer will come meet with you. But we've got some signage there letting folks know what to do. So that's something new for us. It's just operational last week. We don't know how long, obviously, this is going to go on. So we want it to be, again, if you show up at the police department during business hours, you're at least going to talk to someone, get some good information. If you need to come in and see a person, we will, or we'll just have you wait in your vehicle and have an officer dispatch right here to the building, and then you could talk to the officer there and be socially distanced. But we felt that was a really good way to go, and the schools have those, and their buildings are secure now, and they work really, really well. And so we installed that as well.
Okay. And I'm assuming you guys still are not doing the programs like the fingerprinting that you do for village residents, things like that.
You can contact us, and we're going to look at those on a case-by-case basis. If we've got a village resident that, for a health services job, sometimes we've got nurses or physical therapists that are trying to get certified in other states so they can provide benefits to them, counseling. We'll do our best to work with those folks, with village residents, and try and get them fingerprinted if need be. But general fingerprint services, no. Car seats, we're evaluating on a case-by-case basis. But if you've got a situation where you need a car seat installed, get a hold of us, because I haven't found that case yet when we haven't done it. Just because, again, it comes back to that whole safety feature. We really wouldn't be able to live with ourselves if we had a child that was injured because somebody installed a seat improperly. So please call us. We'll probably get you set up, village residents and people here in the village. We're going to get you set up and get that car seat installed. So, and we'll just do it outside in the rear parking lot on a day that's nice. We'll have the people outside the car. The officer can work inside the car and do what they need to do and make sure it's installed properly. So those things, we're still accomplishing our mission. We're still accomplishing what we're doing. We're just doing it in a different fashion. That's all. You might have to jump through one layer, one more hoop, an extra layer of, I don't want to say red tape, but just an extra layer of, of communication with somebody. But we'll get you in. We'll do our best to get you squared away and get what you need.
Okay. Speaking of red tape, if let's say there's a house that is being shown and there's police red tape across one of the entrances, are you allowed to go past that red tape, or do you have to stay on this side of the red tape and just look at it from a distance? I'm asking for a friend.
So there's police tape up.
Do you remember where the fire was on Genesee Street?
Oh yeah.
There's still red police tape that says "Police tape, do not cross." And for the sturdiness of the steps or whatever. So I assumed it was for safety, but that house is being shot.
Oh, okay. Well, normally that is I'll have to talk to our code enforcement officer, Greg Humphrey, on that, because Greg normally lets kind of handles that as far as what buildings are safe or not, and he puts placards up on the building. So if you've ever seen those placards and wonder, um, they're red and they're sizable, like a 2x2 or 3x2, 3x3, and then sometimes there's a slash through the diamond or triangle that's on there. Um,
Mhm.
and that's indicating for fire personnel, actually, is that structure safe to go in? So if there's a fire, so I'll have to touch base with Greg on that. So I think he probably just left the tape up just because he probably didn't want anyone in there. Uh, but when this is over, I'll be reaching out to Greg to ask him that very question.
Okay. And when you mentioned red tape, this past weekend I may have encountered that myself and was kind of
Okay.
curious.
Well, I'll get you. I will get you the answer.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else you'd like to share with the community that since the last time we spoke?
Nope. Just again, we appreciate all the community support. We'd ask people to please continue to abide by the social distancing rules and guidelines. I know there's some businesses are open up. We've got some restaurants that have opened up, and I actually went out to one of them a couple weeks ago, and everyone had their mask on until they got seated, and people were doing a good job. But again, I've heard the governor and the county executive still talk about that. The police are going to respond to those calls, which obviously we will. One of the board members on our Zoom village board meeting last Thursday asked me that very question: what are we doing about enforcement of masks and those types of things? And I reiterated that if we're called, if we're contacted, it's an educational process, and we do our best to gain voluntary compliance. And we haven't really run into too many issues, knock on wood, where people have not been compliant with us in that regard. And so I think most people are, kind of become accustomed to, the new normal, so to speak, for what this is.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. But it's still a process where some places are closed, they haven't opened up. Some are opened up on a limited basis. Some are still doing takeout, and that's just the restaurant side. There's still other businesses that are now opened up that hadn't been before because they weren't deemed essential. So, it's still a process, and I even know myself sometimes if I'm off duty and out and about, oh, I got to make sure I got the mask and not leave it in my car and grab it before I. One time I got all the way to the door of a grocery store and was like, got to go back to the truck and get the mask because I forgot them. Half the time I'm forgetting my bags anyway, so I got to go back because I forget that they're not bagging groceries for you at Wegmans anymore. So got to go get those out of the vehicle. So that's still going on, but police department's still here 24/7. Oh, one more thing I would like to mention. Um, we do have obviously a Facebook page. People comment on that, and we do have an email page, police@baldwinsville.org. But just be aware that those are not monitored 24/7. So I did get an email over that went out on Saturday. I didn't see it till late Sunday when I checked the emails, and it said that there were fireworks going off on a particular street. So I responded back this morning to the resident and said, sorry about the delay, but we don't monitor these 24/7. And the resident said, totally understand. You're busy, and so the police at baldwinsville.org, those actually come to my email, forwarded to me, and then for the Facebook page, one of our officers, they kind of monitor those. But again, we're not on duty 24/7. So if there's a situation where you need police response, do not email or send a message on Facebook. Pick up the phone and call 911. That's the quickest and most efficient method of getting an officer dispatched to you. Just because we don't have the staff, we're not of a size where we can monitor those 24/7.
And that makes sense. So, and that's good to know. And it's nice that the resident understood that too, as opposed to being.
Yes, absolutely. So, we want to have those things for people to outreach. And you know, during most times, you know, we'll be able to, but on the weekends and late at night, those are not being monitored. So I just don't want people to have the understanding or impression that they can just send an email and we'll be able to respond. We don't have that capability.
Okay.
All right.
Well, good to know. And I'm glad you had a nice birthday weekend, 4th of July weekend, and
Yes, it was
everything
great.
is going good. So, all
Yes, it was
right.
awesome.
Well, I will be looking forward to your answer about red tape. Hopefully, I don't come across it again, but at least when I answer, I'll be knowledgeable and not taking a guess. But I did
Yeah,
not cross.
I
Better safe than
appreciate that.
sorry. All right, Chief. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You do the same. Thanks so much. Bye for now.
Bye.